It's spring, and of course I'm bringing you little cakes. As soon as the flowers started blooming, I got really excited and wanted to break out some of my edible flower recipes. This one's easy because it uses a box cake mix. I'll show you how to add magic to your mix and how to make beautiful sugared flowers to decorate these cupcakes that are perfect for your Beltane celebration. Coming up next. Welcome to the Witch's Studio, or in this case, the Witch's Kitchen. I am, of course, Mickie Mueller, author, illustrator, and witch, not necessarily in that order, and I love making creative witchcraft for you. I'm so glad to invite you to my kitchen for some spring kitchen witchery. If you're visiting for the first time, then welcome. You'll find spells, witchy tips, and tricks here, plus lots of DIYs on my channel. So if that's the kind of thing that you like, you have found your way here for a reason. You'll also find lots of conversations down in the comments, so welcome to the community. If you haven't yet, hitting that subscribe button makes it easy as pie or cake to find your way back to the Witch's Studio. Also, hitting that notification bell is the best way to be among the first to catch my next video as soon as I post it. I've been making versions of edible flower cupcakes for years to celebrate the spring and summer Sabbats. I've made them for Ostara, Beltane. I even made them once for Midsummer. These are great to bring to any group celebration or just to share with your family. If you're someone who likes to bake cakes from scratch, it's easy to use these ideas to alter your own recipe and to include the magic of edible flowers. I do some of my own baking from scratch, but I also love a good cake mix because it's easy and affordable. I do want to offer some quick information about edible flowers. There are more of them than you might realize. You can search edible flowers in your web browser, and you'll get plenty of lists to choose from depending on your preference and your availability in your area. Never eat a flower unless you know exactly what it is and if it's edible. And if in doubt, do not eat it. Some flowers are seriously toxic, so do your research thoroughly. I'm going to leave a little list of some of the more common edible flowers along with their magical properties over on my Patreon page. So you don't have to be a paid member to grab that one. It's just an easy place for me to drop this little printable list. I'll add a link below in the description. You should also avoid edible flowers if you have a pollen allergy. As always, if you're pregnant or nursing, check with your doctor, and it's also a good idea to check and make sure there aren't any drug interactions before using flowers or herbs in recipes. Whatever flowers you choose though, make sure your source is organic and not treated with pesticides. If you're buying them online, or fresh from a local florist or flower market, they should be able to let you know if they're organic and safe to consume. You can also use flowers right out of your yard as long as you don't use chemicals on your lawn. It's also best to avoid flowers close to the road as they've been absorbing carbon fumes. So without any further ado, let's get baking. So if I'm not eating sourdough, I'm gluten-free, so I decided to use this gluten-free Krusties mix. I really like the Aldi cake mixes that are gluten-free, but they didn't have any. I went ahead and gathered all of the supplies that I needed to make the mix according to the box. And of course I'm adding some magical ingredients. It called for 1 1/4 cups of milk. I'm doing 1 cup of milk, 1/4 cup of moon water. Because different milks have different fat content, this'll work. The dried flowers I'm using are marigold, butterfly pea flower, and you don't have to use the same flowers that I did. Lavender, rose petals, and big carnation petals. I think I could have upped my quantity of flowers I added. So then I went about adding the ingredients while I thought about the magical properties of those ingredients. And maybe I was thinking about that too much because I just kind of forgot that sometimes gluten-free mixes are different. So I actually had to fish that butter out of there and melt it because this recipe calls for melted butter. So yeah, nobody's perfect. And I don't always use these fancy dishes when I'm baking. I kind of like to do that when I'm making something magical because it keeps me in that mindset as I go. The mixer adds a lot of energy, so this is a perfect time to focus on your intention that you want for these cupcakes. I'm making these for Beltane, so of course I'm thinking about the liminal place between spring and summer, fertility, abundance, and the greening of the land. Magical Crafting here on YouTube also did a cake for Beltane, and she has some other ideas for adding magic to making a cake, so definitely go and check her out. One step I didn't show is preheating the oven, which I did that right before I started mixing everything. And now I'm going to scoop the batter into these cupcake tins. I've never baked with butterfly pea flour, so I'm curious if any color will emerge from that. While those are in the oven for 25 minutes, I'm going to clean this bowl out because I have another tip. If you're using pre-made icing as a shortcut, you can put it in your mixer and it will make it smoother and creamier and fluff it up a little bit. I mean, that's nice. My timer went off, and so now it's time to remove the cupcakes from the oven. And so I'm not tempted to start icing too soon. I have another little side project. We're going to get some violets out of the yard, rinsing these off and making sure they're thoroughly dry before we start the next step. We're going to need 1 egg white, and here is how you separate an egg. If you've never done that before, it's very easy. Just be gentle and allow the white to drain away from the yolk. I'll save that yolk for later when I'm making scrambled eggs or something. Pour a little sugar into the dish, and using a clean paintbrush, grab one of the dry flowers and just start painting on that egg white. You can use your fingers to kind of support the petals and make sure that you get all the nooks and crannies. Here I'm turning it over, and I'm going to kind of just stick it to my finger with the egg white and paint the back side of those petals as well. Yes, you can just dunk it into the egg white, but the problem is it will leave it a little bit too thick and kind of end up really cloggy and messy. Now I'm going to cover that egg white coated flour with the sugar. It's a little fiddly and time consuming, but the results are so beautiful, especially if you're bringing these to like a Coven gathering or a family get together. Everyone will be so impressed with your sugared flowers. And as you can see, that one little nook kind of didn't get any sugar in it, so just make sure you cover the whole thing, and look how pretty that is. I was taught how to do this when I was just a little kid by my best friend Lisa. We made rose petal candy from the roses in her yard, and I think of her every single time I do this. I decided to add some extra fun with freeze-dried strawberries. I got those from Dollar Tree, believe it or not. I'm just going to cut those up into smaller pieces, and now I'm ready to ice my cupcakes. I couldn't find my piping bag, so I'm just going to make do the best I can with what I have. I'm going to sprinkle on some of those freeze-dried strawberries, and they pack a punch of strawberry flavor. They're really nice. You can definitely use fresh strawberries too. I just like to share easy, budget-minded options. And don't forget to boop it. Boop. At this point, you can remove most of the stem and just put your little sugared flour right there on top. How pretty are they? I just love how that turned out. Best friends, they're very festive even in just plain wraps, but I have these fancy Beltane wraps and decided just to make a beautiful little display. I feel like magical crafting, and I could have joined our parties together. And if flowers bloom in your area early, you can do the same thing for Ostara as well. Of all the edible flower recipes, this is one I always come back to. Oh, look how pretty that is on the inside. When you open it, it's like confetti cake, but it's nature's confetti cake. And the butterfly pea flower left a little bit of blue, not as much as I would have expected, but I was pretty happy with the texture of this cake as well. Sugared violets are delicious. I am not even kidding. These will definitely make an impact at your Beltane gathering. If you love those little cupcake wraps at the end, I have a download for them over on my Patreon for all paid members. There will be a link in the description. So my niece tried one of these cupcakes and she loved it. She immediately noticed the lavender flavor and she said it reminded her of her new favorite lavender latte. So of course I immediately tried making my own lavender latte using my mushroom coffee and my homemade oat milk, and it was delicious. I might share that in a short if anyone's interested. Please feel free to share this video with anyone you know who loves a little kitchen witchery. In fact, if you learned something new, be sure to give me a thumbs up. It really helps my channel and it helps other people in the community be able to find this information. Thanks again for visiting me here, and thanks a million to all of you viewers and subscribers and my awesome Patreon members for supporting my channel. It's all people like you who make it possible for me to do this work, and I am so grateful for that. I'll see you next time. Until then, I hope that you stay safe, happy, and healthy. And remember, as always, to be your magic. Bye. Oh, shit. Now I got shit in my hair.